Have you ever felt stuck, as if your life is moving in circles but never forward? Do you often find yourself wondering why happiness seems so fleeting, no matter how much you achieve? Why does it feel like something is missing, even when everything seems fine? Take a moment to think about your daily struggles. How often do you catch yourself reacting out of frustration, anger, or even regret, only to wonder later why you let those emotions control you? Imagine this. You're driving on a busy road, and another driver cuts you off. Your instant reaction is anger, but later, as you calm down, you ask yourself, was it really worth it? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, your space for understanding life through a deeper lens. Here, we explore ways to fix ourselves before it's too late, before regrets and missed opportunities pile up. If you find value in the thoughts we share, please support us by liking this video, commenting with your thoughts, and sharing it with others. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. So, take a moment now to subscribe and join us on this journey of self-improvement. Fixing yourself is not about perfection or meeting someone else's expectations. It's about recognizing the patterns that no longer serve you. It's about asking the tough questions. Why do I feel restless despite having so much? Why does comparison to others leave me feeling empty? In Buddhism, the first step to transformation begins with acknowledgement. The Buddha taught that suffering, or dukkha, is an unavoidable part of life. But it's not suffering itself that traps us. It's our attachment to things we cannot control. Think about the things you cling to: possessions, opinions, relationships, or even your ego. Are they helping you grow, or are they holding you back? These attachments create an illusion of security, but they also create dissatisfaction when life doesn't go as planned. In the coming sections, we'll dive into the wisdom of Buddhism to uncover tools for self-transformation. But for now, ask yourself, what small step can I take today to be more mindful, more patient, and more at peace with myself? Let's start this journey together. The mirror of self, recognizing inner flaws. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing in front of a mirror. Not the one you use to check your appearance every morning, but a mirror of the mind, a reflection of your inner world. When you look into this mirror, what do you see? Do you see only the surface, the things you show the world? Or do you see deeper, into the habits, thoughts, and emotions that shape your actions? In Buddhism, self-awareness is often described as a mirror. But unlike the physical mirror that reflects only the external, this inner mirror reflects the true nature of your mind and your behavior. It shows you your strengths and flaws, your wisdom and ignorance, your peace and your suffering. The challenge is, we are often afraid to look into this mirror. Why? Because what we see inside may be uncomfortable, challenging, or even painful. But it is this very discomfort that holds the key to transformation. The moment we choose to look honestly at ourselves is the moment we begin to understand the root causes of our suffering. We start to see how our attachments, desires, and aversions are clouding our minds and our ability to live peacefully. The first step in recognizing our inner flaws is simply to observe them without judgment. In the busy pace of life, we rarely pause to consider why we act the way we do. We react to situations, people, and emotions almost automatically, often unaware of the deeper forces driving us. But what if we could stop for just a moment before reacting? What if, in that brief pause, we could notice the thoughts and feelings rising within us? Let's take an example from daily life. Think about the last time you were in a conversation that upset you. Perhaps someone said something you disagreed with, or made a comment that triggered you. In that moment, you may have felt anger, frustration, or hurt. But here's the question. What exactly was it that caused you to feel that way? Was it the other person's words? Or was it your attachment to your own beliefs, expectations, or sense of being right? Buddhism teaches that our suffering often arises not from the external world, but from the way we interpret it. We filter everything through our own biases, fears, and attachments. These mental habits shape our reality and determine how we respond to the world. But to recognize this is to gain freedom. When you can step back and observe your thoughts, you create space for change. This practice of self-awareness is not just about observing thoughts, but also about understanding the deeper roots of those thoughts. Why do you feel threatened by criticism? Why do you crave approval? Why do you resist change, even when you know it's for the better? These questions help us dig deeper, beyond the surface-level reactions, to the underlying beliefs and assumptions that drive our behavior. Once you begin to notice these patterns, the next step is to challenge them. In Buddhism, we often talk about samskaras, the mental impressions and habits that shape our actions. These impressions are like grooves in a record, repeating over and over until we consciously choose to change them. But changing these patterns requires courage. It requires you to see the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. For example, if you recognize that your need for approval is driving your decisions, you may start to question why this is so important to you. Is it because you fear rejection? Is it because you seek validation to feel worthy? Once you recognize this, you can begin to let go of the attachment to approval and start making decisions based on your own values and inner truth, not the opinions of others. The more you practice this kind of self-inquiry, the clearer your mind becomes. It's like cleaning a dusty mirror. At first, the reflection is clouded, but with patience and persistence, you begin to see yourself more clearly. The process is gradual, but over time, you begin to understand yourself at a much deeper level. It's important to note that recognizing your flaws doesn't mean condemning yourself. Buddhism teaches that self-compassion is a key part of the journey. When you look into the mirror of your mind, you may see imperfections, but those imperfections are not who you are. They are simply habits and patterns that can be transformed. Just as a gardener doesn't condemn a plant for its weeds, but works to clear them away, you too can work on clearing the mental weeds that cloud your mind and heart. This process of self-recognition isn't always easy. Sometimes, we may not like what we see. We may discover that we have been holding onto grudges, harboring resentment, or acting out of fear or pride. But acknowledging these flaws is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It takes great courage to face the truth about ourselves, and even more courage to do something about it. Buddha himself, after his enlightenment, encouraged his followers to look within, to examine their thoughts, emotions, and actions. He taught that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from understanding the nature of the mind. When we see clearly, we are no longer controlled by our desires, fears, and attachments. We can act with wisdom, kindness, and equanimity. So, the next time you face a challenge or find yourself reacting with anger, jealousy, or fear, pause and look into the mirror of your mind. What is driving your reaction? Is it a belief, an attachment, or a fear? By noticing these patterns, you can begin to break free from them and choose a different response. This is the power of self-awareness. It's not about fixing everything at once, but about taking small, conscious steps towards a deeper understanding of who you are. With each step, you move closer to becoming the person you are meant to be, someone who lives with greater peace, wisdom, and compassion. Remember, the mirror doesn't lie. It shows you the truth, but the truth is not something to be feared. It is the key to your liberation. The Buddhist perspective on suffering and attachment. In life, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that we are meant to be happy all the time, that everything should work out the way we want it to. But what if I told you that suffering, in a way, is a natural part of our existence? What if it's not something to fear, but something to understand? The Buddha, the great teacher of wisdom, spoke about suffering and how to overcome it. His teachings, known as the Four Noble Truths, offer a profound insight into why we feel trapped in cycles of frustration, anger, and unhappiness. To begin understanding how to fix ourselves, we must first recognize the nature of suffering and why it exists. The first noble truth: suffering is inevitable. The Buddha didn't sugarcoat life. He didn't tell people that everything would be perfect if they just followed the right path. Instead, he taught that suffering is inevitable. Life, as we know it, is full of moments of joy but also pain. Sickness, aging, and death are inevitable parts of being human. This may sound harsh, but it's also liberating. If we accept that life includes moments of suffering, we can stop resisting it. The more we resist pain or discomfort, the more it controls us. But when we embrace it, not in a way that makes us passive, but in a way that makes us resilient, we can start to see suffering as a teacher rather than an enemy. The second noble truth: attachment is the root of suffering. Now, let's talk about attachment. We are naturally inclined to hold on to things. Our relationships, our dreams, our possessions, and even our ideas of who we think we are. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of our suffering. We want things to stay the same. We want people to remain in our lives forever, and we want to keep everything we value close to us. But here's the truth. Everything in this world is impermanent. Your favorite possession, your best friend, or even your own body. All of these will change. Nothing stays the same forever, no matter how much you wish it would. When we attach ourselves too tightly to something or someone, we begin to create expectations. We start to believe that things should go our way, and when they don't, it leads to disappointment, frustration, and sorrow. Think about your own life for a moment. What are you attached to? Maybe it's the idea of a perfect career, the expectation that your relationships will always be smooth, or the desire to be recognized for your hard work. When life doesn't match up with these expectations, we suffer. We are disappointed. We feel like things are unfair, and sometimes we feel like giving up. But the Buddha offers a way out. The first step to ending suffering is to recognize the attachments that cause us pain. The second step is to learn how to let go. The third noble truth: there is a way to end suffering. The good news is, there is a way to end suffering. The Buddha didn't leave us hanging after pointing out how difficult life can be. He showed us a way to free ourselves from the cycle of desire and attachment that causes so much pain. The path he taught is called the Noble Eightfold Path, a guide to living a life that is more aligned with peace, wisdom, and compassion. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming more aware of how our actions, words, and thoughts affect us and the world around us. As we begin to follow the Eightfold Path, we start to create space between our desires and our happiness. We begin to understand that happiness isn't something that can be found in things or people. It's something that comes from within. The fourth noble truth: the path to liberation. The final noble truth is the practical part, the path to liberation. The Buddha didn't leave us with just an idea of what's wrong in the world. He offered a way to change it. This path consists of 8 steps, each one leading us toward a life of greater peace and clarity. The power of mindfulness, cultivating awareness. When you think of mindfulness, what comes to mind? For many, it's a peaceful person sitting in lotus position, eyes closed, breathing deeply. But mindfulness isn't just about sitting quietly. It's about being fully present in every moment, in everything you do. It's about waking up to life in its fullest form, not just on a meditation cushion, but in the way you live each day. Let me take you through a simple story. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend. You're listening, but in the back of your mind, you're already thinking about what you're going to say next. Your mind is racing to form responses, anticipating the next words, and perhaps even judging what your friend is saying. The truth is, you're not really listening at all. You're just waiting for your turn to speak. In that moment, you're not present. This is how most of us go through life. We are always rushing ahead, thinking about the future, worrying about the past, or caught up in our mental chatter. We live in our heads, but we're not really living in the moment. Mindfulness is the practice of changing this. It's about grounding yourself, noticing the present, and engaging in life without distraction. So, what does mindfulness have to do with Buddhism? In Buddhism, mindfulness is called sati, and it's one of the most powerful tools we can use for transformation. The Buddha taught that our suffering comes from our inability to stay present. We are constantly caught up in our desires, fears, and attachments. We think we need more. We think we need something else to be happy, but happiness is here and now. When we stop paying attention to what's happening around us, we lose the beauty of life in its raw, pure form. Think about this. When you're mindful, you notice everything. You feel the air on your skin. You hear the sounds in your environment. You taste your food fully. You experience every single moment. This may sound simple, but it is incredibly profound. When you begin to notice the small things, you start to understand how much you've been missing. The first step is to realize that mindfulness is not something you add to your life. It's already there, within you. It's a natural ability, but it's often hidden under layers of distraction. The challenge is to uncover it. Mindfulness can be practiced in many ways. It's not limited to meditation alone. You can practice mindfulness while washing the dishes, while walking, or even while talking to someone. The key is to pay attention. Focus on what's in front of you and engage with it fully without letting your mind wander. Start with small moments. When you wake up in the morning, feel the sheets around you, listen to the sounds of the world outside, and take a few deep breaths. When you eat, truly taste your food. How does it feel in your mouth? What's the texture, the flavor? When you walk, notice the sensation of your feet touching the ground, the movement of your legs, the rhythm of your body. These simple actions, when done with full awareness, help you tune into the present moment. Mindfulness isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about noticing when your mind drifts and gently bringing it back to the present, without judgment. Each time your mind wanders, you don't punish yourself. You simply notice it and bring your focus back. This is the practice. One of the most powerful benefits of mindfulness is that it helps you understand yourself better. The more aware you are of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the easier it becomes to see patterns in your life. When you're mindful, you can observe your reactions instead of being controlled by them. For example, you might notice that when you're stressed, you tend to snap at others, or that when you're feeling insecure, you seek validation from others. These are the patterns of the mind that we often overlook. But with mindfulness, you begin to see them clearly, and with this awareness, change becomes possible. Mindfulness also brings peace. When you're fully in the present moment, you stop worrying about the past or the future. You begin to realize that the present moment is all you have. The Buddha often spoke of how our minds are like a monkey, jumping from one thought to another, never resting. Mindfulness calms this monkey mind. It allows you to focus, to breathe, and to be at peace. But it doesn't happen overnight. Just like any other skill, mindfulness requires practice. In the beginning, your mind will wander. You might feel frustrated or impatient. That's okay. It's part of the process. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to return to the present moment. Over time, you'll notice that mindfulness becomes a natural part of your life, not something you have to force. One way to build mindfulness into your daily routine is by starting small. Set aside 5 minutes each day to practice mindful breathing. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Notice how the air feels as it enters and leaves your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the sensation of breathing. It's a simple practice, but it's incredibly effective. You can also bring mindfulness to everyday activities. When you're eating, savor every bite. When you're walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you're working, focus on the task at hand, rather than multitasking or letting your mind drift. Every moment offers an opportunity to practice mindfulness, to be fully engaged with life as it is happening. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is not just about noticing the world around you, but also about understanding the nature of your thoughts. In mindfulness, you become the observer of your mind. You notice when thoughts arise, but you don't attach to them. You don't identify with them. You simply let them come and go, like clouds passing in the sky. This non-attachment to thoughts is one of the most powerful ways to cultivate inner peace. When you're mindful, you realize that many of your thoughts are just passing events. They don't define you. They don't have to control you. When you stop identifying with every thought and emotion, you begin to experience true freedom. You become less reactive, less controlled by external circumstances, and more at peace within yourself. Mindfulness is the key to understanding the impermanence of life. Nothing stays the same, and everything is in constant motion. Your thoughts, your feelings, your circumstances, everything changes. When you truly understand this, you stop clinging to things, to people, to outcomes. You begin to embrace life as it comes, without resistance. This is the heart of Buddhist teachings, that life is fleeting, and true happiness comes from accepting it as it is. In the end, mindfulness is not just a tool for personal growth. It's a way of being, a way of seeing the world with clarity and compassion. It's the practice of waking up to life in all its beauty and imperfection. When you live mindfully, you begin to see things as they truly are, not through the lens of your judgments, but as they exist in the present moment. So, how can you start practicing mindfulness today? Take a deep breath, slow down, and simply be present. Life is waiting for you to notice it, to experience it, to fully live it. Start now, and with each step, you'll find yourself more connected to the world around you and more at peace within. Remember, mindfulness isn't about perfection. It's about presence. And the more you practice, the more you'll realize that every moment holds the potential for awakening. Let that realization guide you, step by step, into a more peaceful and fulfilling life. The middle way, balancing desires and detachment. Life is a constant tug-of-war between desire and detachment. We are constantly pulled in one direction by our desires, craving things we believe will bring us happiness. At the same time, a voice inside whispers that letting go is the key to true peace. But how do we find balance? How do we live in a world that encourages us to chase after more, while also seeking contentment in what we already have? This is where the Buddha's concept of the middle way becomes a guiding light. The middle way is the path of moderation, avoiding the extremes of indulgence and self-denial. In Buddhism, the middle way is not about renouncing everything you desire, but about understanding that fulfillment does not lie in the endless pursuit of pleasure or the rejection of all things that bring joy. It's about finding a peaceful balance between the two, where your desires do not control you and detachment doesn't lead to apathy. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about the things you long for, the career you want, the relationships you crave, the possessions you dream of owning. Now ask yourself, why do you want these things? Are they meant to fill a void within you? Or do you seek them because you truly believe they will enhance your well-being and happiness? In the Buddhist teachings, attachment to desires is a source of suffering. When we attach our happiness to external conditions, whether it's material wealth, success, or approval from others, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Why? Because nothing in life is permanent. The things we desire are fleeting, and the moment we believe they will bring us lasting happiness, we create a dependency on them. We end up in a cycle where our happiness is constantly dependent on circumstances beyond our control. But the middle way offers a way out. It teaches us that we do not need to give up all our desires or live in extreme renunciation to find peace. The middle way is about understanding the impermanence of life and learning to enjoy things without becoming overly attached to them. It's about enjoying a meal, but not allowing the desire for food to define your mood or your sense of worth. It's about cherishing a relationship, but not allowing your happiness to hinge on the approval or affection of another person. Balancing desires and detachment means recognizing that desires are not inherently bad. In fact, they are a part of being human. The challenge lies in how we respond to those desires. Do we allow them to control us, or do we learn to appreciate them without becoming dependent on them? One of the most common misunderstandings of Buddhist teachings is that detachment means indifference. But detachment is not about rejecting life or becoming cold-hearted. It's about freeing yourself from the fear of losing what you love. It's about being able to enjoy something deeply, but also knowing that it is not the source of your true happiness. When we detach, we release the need for external validation and accept that life is constantly changing. In doing so, we find a sense of peace that comes from within, not from outside circumstances. Now, let's turn to another aspect of the middle way, avoiding extremes in our daily habits. How many of us live lives of excess? How often do we indulge in comforts, seeking quick satisfaction, only to feel empty afterward? Or, on the other hand, how many of us push ourselves to the brink of exhaustion, denying ourselves the rest and enjoyment we need in the name of discipline or productivity? Both extremes lead to suffering. The middle way is about finding a balance between rest and work, enjoyment and discipline. Imagine a simple example: eating. If you overeat, you might feel physically uncomfortable and lethargic. On the other hand, if you deprive yourself of food, you might feel weak and unsatisfied. The middle way is about eating mindfully, enjoying your meal without overindulgence, and savoring the nourishment it provides. You neither chase after food in excess nor starve yourself in pursuit of self-control. Instead, you listen to your body, trust its signals, and find harmony in what you consume. This balance extends beyond physical needs. It applies to emotional, mental, and spiritual desires as well. In our fast-paced world, we are bombarded by constant distractions: social media, news, work pressures, and the expectations of others. We often find ourselves overwhelmed, constantly seeking more stimulation, more information, more validation, but in doing so, we create a sense of inner chaos as we lose touch with our true selves. The middle way teaches us that true peace comes not from accumulating more, but from simplifying and focusing on what truly matters. This might mean setting boundaries on how much time we spend on social media, taking moments throughout the day to breathe and reconnect with ourselves, or letting go of the constant need for approval. It's about practicing mindful consumption, not just in food, but in all areas of life. The Buddhist teachings on the middle way also extend to our relationship with material wealth. While the Buddha did not condemn wealth or possessions, he warned against becoming attached to them. He understood that the pursuit of wealth could easily turn into greed, and that greed creates a cycle of suffering. At the same time, he recognized that wealth, when used wisely, can support a peaceful and meaningful life. The key is to understand the role money plays in your life, and not allow it to define your worth or happiness. Imagine you have all the money in the world, but no inner peace. Would you trade your peace for wealth? The Buddha would say that wealth is only valuable when it supports your spiritual growth, not when it becomes a source of attachment or pride. Another aspect of the middle way is about avoiding extremes in our approach to relationships. How often do we find ourselves either clinging to someone or withdrawing completely? We either chase after the approval and affection of others or push them away, afraid of being hurt. The middle way teaches us to find a balance in our relationships, caring deeply without clinging. It's about being open to love and connection while maintaining your own sense of self-worth and independence. True connection comes not from dependency, but from mutual respect and understanding. The Buddhist teachings encourage us to love without attachment, to care without expectation, and to offer compassion without seeking anything in return. When we can love in this way, we experience freedom in our relationships, and we allow others the space to grow as well. Ultimately, the middle way is about understanding that both desire and detachment are part of life. The key is not to reject either one, but to find a balance that allows us to live peacefully without being ruled by our cravings or our fears. When we follow the middle way, we no longer seek happiness outside of ourselves. Instead, we learn to cultivate happiness within, finding contentment in the present moment, regardless of external circumstances. The middle way teaches us that true freedom is found when we stop chasing after things and start living in harmony with the present moment. It's about enjoying life without being consumed by it. It's about letting go of the extremes and finding peace in the balance. The practice of letting go, release to heal. In life, we often hold on to things that hurt us. We keep old grudges, painful memories, and fears close to our hearts, thinking they define who we are. But what if I told you that these things don't define you at all? In fact, they are the chains that hold you back from experiencing true peace and freedom. Letting go is not about forgetting or ignoring. It's about choosing to release what no longer serves you, so you can make space for something better. Have you ever felt burdened by a past mistake or a situation you can't change? Maybe it's a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or a decision you regret. These things can weigh heavily on your heart and mind, shaping your present in ways you may not even realize. But holding on to these burdens doesn't change the past. It only makes the present harder to live. Letting go means releasing the grip of the past, so you can embrace the present moment and the possibilities it holds. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is the root of suffering. It's our attachment to things, people, and outcomes that causes us pain. When we hold on too tightly, we resist the natural flow of life, which is always changing. In fact, change is the only constant in life. Yet, we often fight against it. We want things to stay the same, to control the outcome, or to hold on to what we fear losing. But the more we try to control, the more we suffer. Imagine a tree in a storm. The tree with flexible branches bends with the wind, allowing the storm to pass. But the tree with rigid branches resists the wind, and eventually, its branches break. In the same way, life is constantly throwing storms our way. Change, loss, disappointment. If we resist these storms, we become rigid, and eventually, we break. But if we let go, if we learn to bend with the winds of life, we find peace and strength. Letting go is not an instant process. It is a practice, a choice we make every day. It starts with awareness. we must first recognize what we're holding on to and why we're holding it. Are we holding on to past hurts because they define us in some way? Are we holding on to anger or resentment because we feel justified? Are we holding on to the idea that we need to control everything to feel safe? Once we recognize what we're holding on to, we can begin the practice of releasing. One of the most powerful ways to let go is through mindfulness and meditation. When you sit in stillness, you can observe your thoughts and emotions without attachment. You don't have to react to them or judge them. You simply observe, letting them come and go like clouds in the sky. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to release the hold that past experiences and emotions have on you. Letting go also involves forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about condoning the wrongs that have been done to you. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of resentment and anger. When we hold on to anger, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. But when we forgive, we release ourselves from the pain that we continue to carry. And this release is not just for the other person. It's for you. It's a gift you give yourself, so you can move forward with a lighter heart. Forgiveness is a practice, just like letting go. It may take time, especially if the hurt is deep, but every time you choose to forgive, you free yourself a little more. You stop letting the past control your present, and you start living with more peace, more joy, and more love. In Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment is not about detaching from life itself, but rather detaching from the need to control it. You can still love, still care, still give, but you do so without the fear of losing, because you understand that everything in life is temporary. The more you hold on to something, the more it will cause you pain when it inevitably changes or slips away. But when you release, you make room for new experiences, new relationships, and new growth. Letting go also means releasing the need to be perfect. So often, we hold on to the idea that we must always be in control, that we must always get things right. This desire for perfection can be paralyzing, because no matter how hard we try, perfection is unattainable. Life is messy. We make mistakes. We fall short. But these mistakes don't define us. They are simply lessons along the way. Letting go of the need for perfection frees you to live more fully, to embrace your flaws, and to see your failures as opportunities for growth. In our modern world, letting go can feel like a radical act. We are constantly told to strive, to accumulate, to hold on to everything we can. But Buddhism invites us to do the opposite. It teaches us that true happiness and peace come not from accumulating more, but from letting go of the things that weigh us down. It's a reminder that we already have everything we need to be happy, if only we can release the things that distract us from the present moment. So, how do you start the process of letting go? Begin with small steps. Notice the things that you cling to, physical objects, memories, habits, fears. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Is this bringing me peace or causing me stress? Start by gently releasing one thing at a time, whether it's a belief that no longer serves you, a grudge you've been holding, or a material possession that you've become too attached to. Letting go can be uncomfortable, especially at first. You may feel a sense of loss or fear about what you'll be left with, but trust in the process. The space you create by letting go will soon be filled with something better. New opportunities, new perspectives, and new growth. You will begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at peace with yourself and the world around you. In the end, letting go is not just about releasing what you've been holding on to. It's about making space for what is yet to come. It's about trusting that the universe, or whatever higher power you believe in, has something even better in store for you. When you let go of the old, you make room for the new. And that new may be the peace, happiness, and fulfillment that you've been seeking all along. Remember, letting go is not about forgetting or running away. It's about accepting what is, without attachment to how things should be. It's about embracing life as it is, with all its challenges, changes, and uncertainties, and finding peace in the present moment. When you release the past, you are no longer bound by it. You are free to live fully, to love deeply, and to grow into the person you are meant to be. So, ask yourself, what can you release today? What no longer serves you? What would it feel like to let go and make space for something better? Let go and let life flow. The role of meditation, connecting with inner peace. In our fast-paced world, where distractions seem to multiply every day, finding inner peace may feel like an impossible task. The mind is constantly racing, thoughts of the past, worries about the future, and endless noise from the outside world. But there is a powerful tool that can help us regain control, and that tool is meditation. Meditation is often misunderstood. Many people think of it as simply sitting in silence for long hours, trying to clear the mind of all thoughts. But meditation is far more than that. It is a practice of awareness, of learning to be present with whatever arises in the moment, without judgment or attachment. It is a way of connecting with the deep well of peace that resides within us, even when the world around us is chaotic. In the teachings of Buddhism, meditation is central. The Buddha himself was a great meditator, seeking enlightenment through a deep understanding of the mind. He taught that by quieting the mind, we can begin to see the world as it truly is, not through the lens of our conditioned thoughts and beliefs, but through direct experience. Meditation allows us to step back from our thoughts and observe them, rather than becoming consumed by them. When we meditate, we practice being present with whatever arises, whether it's a feeling of joy, discomfort, fear, or peace. We learn that thoughts are not permanent, they come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. The key is not to become attached to them, to hold on to them, or to react to them. Instead, we learn to let them be, allowing them to pass without being swept away by them. The first step in meditation is to find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably. This doesn't have to be a special room or a quiet retreat. Just a corner in your home where you can sit for a few minutes without interruptions. The goal is not to force the mind to be empty, but rather to bring your attention to the present moment. You might begin by focusing on your breath. Notice the sensation of her entering and leaving your body, the rise and fall of your chest, the rhythm of your breathing. Simply focus on that for a few minutes. At first, this may seem difficult. Your mind will wander, and you may find yourself caught up in thoughts about your day, your plans, or your problems. This is perfectly normal. The key is to gently bring your attention back to your breath whenever you notice your mind drifting. Each time you do this, you strengthen your ability to stay present and calm, like a muscle that grows stronger with practice. As you continue to practice, you may notice that your thoughts become less overwhelming. Meditation helps you develop a different relationship with your thoughts. Instead of being controlled by them, you learn to observe them with curiosity and without attachment. This shift in perspective is transformative. It allows you to experience life with more clarity and peace. In Buddhism, meditation is not just a means to quiet the mind. It is a way to deepen our understanding of reality. Through meditation, we begin to see that everything is interconnected and impermanent. Our attachments, our desires, and our fears are all part of the cycle of suffering. But by becoming more aware of these patterns, we can start to break free from them. There are different types of meditation, and each offers its own unique benefits. One common form is mindfulness meditation, which involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. In this practice, you might focus on the sensations in your body, the sounds around you, or the thoughts that arise in your mind. The goal is not to stop thinking, but to observe your thoughts without reacting to them. By doing this, you create space between you and your thoughts, which allows you to see them more clearly and choose how to respond. Another form of meditation is loving-kindness meditation, metta. In this practice, you focus on cultivating feelings of compassion and love for yourself and others. You begin by silently repeating phrases such as, "May I be happy," "May I be peaceful," "May I be free from suffering." After a few minutes, you extend these wishes to others, starting with loved ones and eventually including all beings. This practice helps to open the heart, reduce feelings of anger or resentment, and cultivate a sense of interconnectedness with all beings. Zazen, or seated meditation, is another important practice in Buddhism. It involves sitting in a specific posture, with your back straight, hands resting in your lap, and eyes half closed. The focus of Zazen is on observing the breath and being present with whatever arises in the moment. In Zen tradition, the emphasis is not on achieving a particular state of mind, but on simply being present, fully awake to the experience of the present moment. No matter which form of meditation you choose, the goal is the same: to cultivate a deeper awareness of the present moment, to quiet the distractions of the mind, and to connect with a sense of inner peace. The benefits of meditation go far beyond just feeling calmer. Studies have shown that regular meditation practice can reduce stress, improve concentration, enhance emotional well-being, and even improve physical health. Meditation has been shown to lower blood pressure, improve immune function, and reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. It can help you respond to life's challenges with more clarity and less reactivity. But perhaps the greatest benefit of meditation is the transformation that occurs on a deeper, more spiritual level. Through meditation, we begin to see through the illusions of the ego, the false sense of self that causes so much suffering. We come to understand that our thoughts, our emotions, and even our bodies are impermanent. We begin to realize that true peace comes not from external circumstances, but from within. This understanding is at the heart of Buddhist teachings. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment and ignorance. Meditation helps us overcome both of these obstacles. By learning to observe our thoughts and emotions without attachment, we can release the grip of desire and aversion. And by developing mindfulness, we gain insight into the true nature of our experience, seeing things as they really are, impermanent, interconnected, and constantly changing. Meditation is not a quick fix or a one-time solution. It is a lifelong practice that requires patience, consistency, and dedication. But the rewards are profound. With each meditation session, you take another step on the path to inner peace and self-understanding. You learn to trust yourself, to accept yourself, and to live more fully in the present moment. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges, or if you simply want to experience a deeper sense of peace, consider making meditation a part of your daily routine. It doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. Even just a few minutes a day can make a significant difference in your life. As you practice, remember that the goal is not to be good at meditation, but simply to practice. Be patient with yourself and embrace the process. With time, you will begin to notice the subtle shifts that meditation brings: greater clarity, more compassion, and a deeper connection to your true self. Meditation, in the Buddhist tradition, is not just a personal practice, it's a path to awakening. It is a way of connecting with the deeper truths of life, transcending the illusion of separation and realizing the boundless potential of the human spirit. It is a way of healing, not just the individual, but the world around us. When we cultivate inner peace, we radiate that peace to others. When we let go of attachment and suffering, we become a source of compassion and understanding for those around us. So, take a deep breath, find a quiet space, and begin your meditation journey today. It is a path that leads to profound transformation. A path that connects you with the deepest part of yourself and with the world around you. Karma and responsibility, the seeds you sow. In life, there's a saying, "What you sow, you shall reap." It's not just a nice quote or an old proverb, it's a fundamental truth. The choices you make today, the actions you take, and even the thoughts you entertain shape your future. This is the essence of karma. Karma, in its simplest form, means action. Everything you do has an impact. It's like planting seeds in the ground. Some seeds will grow into flowers, while others might turn into weeds. The key is understanding that every action, big or small, contributes to the life you experience. Now, you may wonder, what does karma really mean in the context of Buddhist teachings? In Buddhism, karma is not about some external force or cosmic judgment. It's about the natural law of cause and effect. It teaches us that our actions have consequences, whether we see them immediately or much later in life. But here's the important part. Karma is not about fate. It's about responsibility. We are not passive beings in a world where things just happen to us. Instead, we are the creators of our own reality. Let me give you an example. Imagine you wake up in a bad mood. You're frustrated with something that happened yesterday, or maybe you're stressed about work. Now, think about how that mood affects your day. You might snap at someone, complain about things, or even avoid interacting with others. That bad mood, left unchecked, can lead to negative interactions, missed opportunities, and unnecessary conflict. In this case, the seed you sowed was negativity, and the fruits of that seed are more negativity. But what if you changed that? What if, instead of letting that frustration take root, you chose to practice mindfulness in that moment? You could take a deep breath, acknowledge the feeling, but choose not to act on it. You could look for something to be grateful for, or decide to start the day with a small act of kindness. The seed you're planting now is one of peace and positivity. And just like the first scenario, it will grow and shape your experiences. This is how karma works in our daily lives. It's not just about big, life-altering decisions, but about the small moments and choices that we often overlook. The thoughts we choose to entertain, the words we speak, and the actions we take all contribute to the world we create for ourselves. And the beauty of this is that you have the power to change your karma at any moment. You might be thinking, but what about the things that have already happened? What about the mistakes I've made in the past? Here's the truth. Karma is not about judgment. It's not about paying for past wrongs or being punished for your mistakes. In Buddhism, karma is about learning and growth. It's not about avoiding mistakes, but about taking responsibility for them. The past is over, but how you respond to it and how you learn from it determines your future. Think of it this way. When you plant a tree, you can't change its shape or size once it starts growing, but you can shape its future by taking care of it. You can water it, trim its